If you were neutral, you probably had a lot of fun watching that game. If you were a Liverpool fan, you probably are like, here we go again. If you're a Aston Villa fan, you're like, let's go. One step closer to Champions League football, and it's the truth. And if you watch any of my previous videos in the beginning, I said Aston Villa is probably going to finish in a fourth place finish. They are a dark horse in this league. They are very, very good. And my prediction came true. Ollie Watkins, 40 goals and assists this season, out of this world season. If he can continue the way that he's playing right now, I can see Aston Villa being a serious threat next year if they have two or three more really good signings come in the summer, and Aston Villa gives Unai Emery the backing and the funding that they did this past season, bringing in Pau Torres, bringing in Moussa Diaby, building off of that Douglas Luiz and Emi Martinez and Ollie Watkins spine right there, and building around these players. If they sign two or three really solid players, they're going to be really dangerous, and they're going to challenge, in my personal opinion, and challenge for the big one. I think they can get those two or three good signings in, and then they can build some depth underneath them. Before we jump into the video, I just want to say thank you all for the 1,000 subs. We are marching onward towards 2,000 subs. Thank you everybody who's decided to spend some time with me, give some of your precious, minutes away that you guys have throughout the day. The fact that you guys spend your time watching my videos is definitely something that I don't take lightly, and I'm extremely grateful for. So thank you all. Let's get to 2,000 subs and keep growing this community. I appreciate all of you. And I promise more and more content is going to be coming out. We're going to do another Merseyside Monster video, Merseyside Monster Part 2. I've learned some more stuff about Michael Edwards that has actually had my jaw dropped. So keep an eye on that video. And it basically just proves my whole theory correct. Some of the things that he's trying to do at Liverpool, which is very, very exciting. I had a grin on my face reading some of the stuff that I heard from a super, super reliable source. So keep an eye out for that video, but appreciate all of you. And let's get back to the video. This Aston Villa team, they're not an easy team to beat, which is pretty obvious. And I think Liverpool was lucky for that 3-1 scoreline, really. If you really looked at the game and you were watching it and you were just like, man, we are lucky to be up 3-1 right now. If anything, we should be down 3-1. I believe the XG for them was like 3, almost 4, and our XG was like only 2 or something like that. So we were lucky to not be down 4 or 5 goals by the end of this thing. And I think getting a 3-3 draw away from that game was probably a good result for us, but it does feel like we threw those points away. Not that we need them, of course, but it gives a commentary almost on what the season has been like, right? Digging out goals and results that we probably shouldn't be getting. But Aston Villa did not let that slide today, and they fought towards the end. Their fans were amazing. They were loud, and I felt the boys felt a bit intimidated a little bit today. They were hungry. This Aston Villa team was hungry, and they kept coming, and they kept coming. Regardless of how many goals that they went down, they never gave up. And it's absolutely insane how it finished. Touch of luck from some of those goals, but that's what you need in football. So it's pretty unfortunate on a lot of those things, but I think a lot of these issues, they really fall back on Jurgen Klopp. If you want me to be super, super honest here. And I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade. He's been one of our greatest, if not the greatest manager that we've had in Premier League history. But a majority of these players, and I was looking at this even before the substitutes and after, right? A majority of these players that came on are being played out of position. And I've been saying this week after week after week on this channel that Jurgen Klopp, he's a diehard in this 4-3-3 formation, which hasn't always been the case in his career. He was actually started out as a 4-2-3-1 type of manager, similar to Arne Slot. But things kind of changed a little bit over time, and he's really become accustomed to this formation. And his personnel doesn't fit the needs of this formation. It's a good formation, especially under Jurgen Klopp, and we've seen what it can do when you have the right players in there. When you have a Henderson, a Gini Wijnaldum in there, a Fabinho in there, right? You have a Bobby Firmino, a one-of-a-kind type of player, a Sadio Mane, who is essentially a wide left, deadly forward, right? And you have a generational talent like Mohamed Salah on the right wing. That formation can work. But with the personnel that Jurgen has right now and how young they are and how, I want to say, inexperienced a bit they are, and they're really just not at those levels and not the profile that he needs to make the system works. This is what happens, right? So I have a list here of all of the players that I believe are playing out of position and are kind of being shoehorned into the Jurgen Klopp system and philosophy. And I know this won't really matter in a week's time because we'll have a new manager who'll have a whole different philosophy that I think fits the personnel that we have much better. And I think there will be some comings and goings, of course, if we know Michael Edwards. It said that he's going to be ruthless this offseason. But these are some of the names that I think are playing in the wrong position. And I'm going to add on to the end what position I think they should be playing. Harvey Elliott, he's playing as a box to box 8. He should be a 10, right? Cody Gakpo, he's playing as a false 9. He should be a winger. Mohamed Salah would probably do better as a free roaming 9 at this point in his career with the lack of pace, with the lack of being able to beat players anymore. I mean, he was one of the best in the world, probably one of the best to ever do it when it comes to just simple dribbling and getting past players and beating 3 or 4 guys at a time and putting the ball into the back of the net. They called him the Egyptian Messi at one point in his career. That's not the case anymore. I think he still has that eye for goal. He's still deadly. He still can finish, but I think he needs to play more in the middle, free roam, utilize his passing a lot more because he's a great passer and he creates some phenomenal chances and he's one of the best assisters in the league right now. If you don't believe me, check some of those stats. I think he'd be better actually in the Bobby Firmino role, which is really weird, but a little bit more advanced, more attacking, obviously more on the front foot. And but I think he has that passing range and the vision to do it, and the attacking IQ to bag a ton of goals in that position, right? Um, Trent, he should probably be playing as a midfielder. I was looking today. He should probably be playing as a 10. In my personal opinion, Trent should probably be playing as a 10. I've read a stat that his stats actually line up almost stat for stat with Tony Cruz's stats, which is mad when you think about it when he's a right back. It's the defense that is actually lacking when it comes to the stat for stat comparison with Tony Cruz, which is kind of crazy. And I might pop it up here on the screen and show the little graph that compares the two. So it's just like, okay, so if he can't be an 8 like Tony Cruz is, or a deep lying 6, creative 6, whatever you want to call it, regista, or a deep lying 8, whatever you want to call it, right? Who can play, quarterback from deep. If you don't believe he doesn't have the defensive acumen and the know-how to do that, which some people believe that, play him as a 10. Play him as a 10 then. Take some of that defensive responsibility off of him and see if he can grow into the offensive side of the game, which he obviously favors, which is obviously his strong point of his game, is the offense, is finding passes, is those long-range bombs from deep flying into the top right-hand corner, left-hand corner. He hit one with his weak foot off the volley in a number 10 position at Emi Martinez that he had trouble with. So I'm just like, imagine if we put Trent in more of those positions. I think we'd see a lot of those screamers. I think we'd see a Steven Gerrard-esque type of figure at Liverpool. But it'll take Arne Slot just being brave and deploying him in that role, right? Either a 10 or a wide 10, right? In that 4-2-3-1 position on the right side of that. Not as a winger. I know some people, call that position in the 4-2-3-1 as a winger. I'd say as a 10, like a wide 10, right? I think he would do really, really good in that. And I hope Arne Slot does do that, and which will end up needing him to make some acquisitions in the summer, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in this video as well. Dominic Szoboszlai is not an 8. He's a 10. We all know that. Similar traits, similar attributes as Trent. Wand of a right foot, can bomb one from deep, phenomenal passing, phenomenal range. Better dribbler than Trent, which is why I say he's more of a natural 10 than anything, but also can play in the wide right 10, wide left 10. I don't know, but he's playing as a box-to-box 8, which he strived in and did well in the beginning of the season, but I think the legs started to go a bit with all of the games that he has played up to this point, and I think he needs a prolonged rest to get his legs back underneath him, playing in that box-to-box role, which he has never played in his career previous, right? Keep that in mind. He's never played as a box-to-box 8 until he came to Liverpool. Did really well in the beginning, but you can see as this season has kind of dragged on, it's fallen off. Number 7. These are 7 players, by the way. Maka is not a 6, he's an 8. And we all know that. With the mistake that he made today, it makes Maka look like a worse midfielder than he is. And he's by far been one of the best players in our squad. And I know most of you agree with that. He's probably our player of the season. It's either between him or Virgil van Dijk this season. But when he gets put into that 6 role, it doesn't suit him at all. He doesn't have the size. He doesn't have the pace. He doesn't have the physicality for it. He is better as a box-to-box 8, getting in there, coming in on second chance tackles, recovering the ball, spreading the ball around, being finesseful, being creative. I think he's better in that position. Can he play the 6? Sometimes. Sometimes for me. Sometimes he can. Sometimes he has world-class games. It's like, dang, is he a 6? And then there's games like today where when he was moved to that position after the substitutes, he just had a horse show, right? So I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair for these players to be ridiculed and to become under pressure. If anything, I think it's Jurgen Klopp's tactics that need to come under a little bit of criticism. And then I don't think it is his tactics that needs to come under criticism because he's on the way out. So, and of course, this game doesn't necessarily matter for us. So it's just like, now I'm nitpicking, now I'm splitting atoms, which is true. So it's tough. I think these are the right players. I think they just need the right system. And I don't know if you noticed, but there's a lot of midfielders at Liverpool right now. And thankfully, Arne Slot plays with a lot of midfielders in his team. But where are all these players going to play? Harvey, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, Jones, Trent, Maka. A lot of these players are a pretty similar kind of player profile. You know, obviously all of them are coming in different shapes and sizes and things like that, with slight difference in technical abilities. Probably Szoboszlai and Trent are the biggest differences there, and McAllister. But a lot of these players would probably thrive in a number 10 role. So what do you do with all of these midfielders who are so attacking, right? As a neutral, you probably had a blast watching this game. As a Liverpool fan, you're probably annoyed. And I think the tactics need to change. And I think Michael Edwards knows that. And I think there will be some comings and goings. My man of the match was Cody Gakpo. But after seeing the impact of Endo coming off the field, maybe it should have been Endo. I don't know. But here's what Liverpool need. If we're going to move all these players to their right position and give them minutes in that number 10, wide 10 position, move Salah to a free roaming 9. Liverpool need a left back. Liverpool need a center back because they can't keep playing Gomez at left back. They need a real out and out left back. Liverpool need another center back. Kwanzaa was phenomenal today. I think he was good. He got fucked up by Ollie Watkins, but not very many people don't get messed up by him today. And they need a right back. And they need a 6. Because when Endo comes off the field, it shouldn't be that big of a swing and a difference. And Endo, he's getting towards the end of his career, getting out of his prime. Unfortunately, we bought him a little bit too late. And then obviously Bajcetic is very young. So you think about, do you go to Geir Tarita, right? The Feyenoord player who could play right back, center back, and center defensive midfielder. That solves a lot of problems in one signing. Allows Trent to move into that midfield role. Frees up McAllister a little bit, right? Who do you get as another center back? Who do you get as a left back? And I think they also need a left winger. Luis Diaz is good, but he's a super sub for me. Luis Diaz is a super sub for me. I'm sorry, guys. He's a super sub for me. He gets too many chances and creates too many opportunities for him not to finish. And some of that stuff was embarrassing today. And I love Luis Diaz. I'm a big fan of him. I think he is Neymar if he gets finishing. I think he's at that level if he gets finishing and decision making. Because it's almost to the level of where Darwin's decision making is, which I think if both of those players can get their decision making together and they can get their finishing together, we have 2 world-class players on our hand. 2 world-class players on our hand. But that just needs to be fixed and needs to change. But I'm nitpicking here. It was a good game. It was fun to watch. Liverpool should have probably won that game, but I think it was a well-deserved point for each of the clubs when you look at it as a whole in the end of the day. So let me know what you guys think. Who was your man of the match? Who am I missing out on? What do you guys think about some of these tactics? We'll see you in the next one. See you next time. Peace.